Aw, thanks, Maya. You just make me feel so special. Oh, where is my video? There it is. Okay. Forgot to flip it up. All right, so we are going to do a lesson on the quadratic formula. Should be a review. You did this in Algebra 1, maybe in geometry. Not 100% sure. Some people do, some people don't. But the purpose of the quadratic formula is to find roots. Where does it cross the x-axis? So we're not going to do too many examples today, but in case you forgot, here she be. So you got to make sure that it's written in standard form and that it's set equal to 0. So whatever polynomial you're given, or quadratic I should say, needs to be set equal to 0. And then we have our formula right here. Right here. So x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So if we were in school, I would teach you the Pop Goes the Weasel. I'd make you all sing it. But we're not in school. Kind of a bummer. I'm a little sad. It's okay. All right. So make sure you have that down. Maybe you learned the Pop Goes the Weasel song. I'm not sure if Miss Halton taught it or not. I always make my students suffer through it. When we're together, we will be together someday again. So, there we go. And just to refresh memories, the A, B, and C, those are the coefficients. C is the constant. So I'm actually going to scooch down to example 3. If you printed out these notes, I'm just going to do a few of these examples with you. And then you should be good to do your homework, which is in Delta Math tonight. So just an FYI, it is in Delta Math. So some of those problems you'll get tonight will give you nice pretty answers, and some you will have to leave as a fraction, and you'll see some of those examples as we get to it. So as I see, it is written in standard form and it's set equal to 0. So we're going to say what our A, our B, and our C are equal to. I just think it helps kind of organize the information. And then if it's helpful, I'm going to rewrite the formula again. Right here. So negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. There we go. I've been brainwashed with that song, so it's like literally impossible for me to write it without singing the song. Thank you, Mrs. Terrell, from my high school math teacher. Again, that sucker. Or was it? Oh no, Terrell did the song. Did Ason? I think Anderson did the song. I don't know. I had some pretty amazing math teachers growing up. So let us plug and chug. So we have x equals negative b. So instead of 5, I'm going to write negative 5 plus or minus the square root. So we have 5 squared minus 4 times 3 times 2 all over 2 times 3. Now, I would not recommend entering this entire thing in your calculator all at once. I'd really just recommend entering what's under the radical first. And keep note that I did put my b squared in parentheses. For now, this is a positive number, so that's not really going to affect it. But if that was a negative number, that is going to change some things. You always want to make sure it's bundled up in your parentheses. So, under my radical, when the dust settles, oh, excuse me. We get 25 minus 24, so we get 1. That's a nice number. All over 6. And then I'm going to split this up because it says plus or minus. Aw, thanks, Maya. Making me feel so special on Teacher Appreciation Week here. We're going to have x equals negative 5 plus. Now, radical 1 is just 1. So I'm going to actually simplify that. Sometimes you can simplify, sometimes you can't. All over 6. And then I also could have negative 5 minus 1 all over 6. Negative 5 plus 1 is negative 4 over 6 would simplify to negative 2/3. And then over here, negative 5 minus 1 is negative 6. Negative 6 over positive 6 is going to be negative 1. So here we have 2 answers. Now, had the under the radical not been able to simplify, you would have left your answer as that fraction. We'll see some like that. All right. So, does it look familiar? Do you remember it? Ooh, I got the hiccups. My dog gets the hiccups a lot, too. It's very weird. It's like we were destined for each other. All right. Let us do another one. So, again, I'm going to state what my A is, what my b is, and what my c is. So remember, a is 1 because it's technically 1x squared. B is going to be negative 8 because you got to bring that sign with it. So x equals negative b. Well, negative 8 is going to be a positive 8. Plus or minus. Now this is where you want that b squared to be in parentheses, because negative 8 in parentheses squared is going to be positive 64, whereas if there were no parentheses, it would be negative 64. Yay, I'm glad you remember it. Good, good, good. Minus 4 times a times c all over 2 times 1. All right. So we have 8 plus or minus, what's under my radical and the dust settles? We get 12 all over 2. Now, radical 12 will simplify. If you think about it, I can do it off to the side here. We get 4 and 3. The square root of 4 is 2, or if you want to break it down more primes, we have a bundle of 2's. So, x equals 8 plus or minus 2 radical 3 all over 2. Now this will simplify. This will simplify because each term has a 2 that I could divide by. So we're going to have 8 over 2 is 4, plus or minus 2 over 2 is 1. And technically that's all over 1. So we have x is 4 plus or minus radical 3. So technically, depending on how Delta Math wants you to write it, you might be able to just leave your answer like this if it doesn't let you type in plus or minus below one another. You would want to write your answer as x equals 4 plus radical 3 and x equals 4 minus radical 3. But we're going to keep it in radical form because radical 3 is irrational, so that's going to be an ugly decimal, so don't want to do that. Okay. Let's try another. All right. We have our A, our B, and our C. Okay. So x equals negative b is going to be positive 2, because minus minus, over b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2a. Okay. Sorry, guys. Speak it out sometimes. It's all good. All right. So we get 2 plus or minus. We got 4, technically plus, let's see, 10. Is that 24? All over 4. Now, radical 24 is going to simplify. What do we get? We get 6 and 4. 4 is a perfect square. We get a pair of 2's there. So we get 2 plus or minus 2 radical 6 all over 4. Now, each term in this is divisible by 2. So if I did that, I could have technically 1 plus or minus 1 radical 6 all over 2. So I'm just dividing out, simplifying that fraction a little bit. You could say 1 radical 6, but you don't really need the 1 there. So this is as simplified as it would get. So again, depending on how Delta Math wants you to write the answer, you could leave it like this, or they might want you to say x equals 1 plus radical 6 over 2, and x equals 1 minus radical 6 over 2. So I'm not 100% sure how they want you to write it, but that is probably what they're going to want to see. So I'm just going to leave it at those 3 examples. I feel like you've done this formula a lot. I just want to refresh your memory because at the end of this unit, we're going to come back to solving more with the quadratic formula. So I hope you have a fabulous rest of your Wednesday, and come join me on my office hours if you need some help. Bye.